everyone. Happy Wednesday. It is a pleasure to be with you once again. This is the Lawron Ballard Show, the place that we talk about all things tax savings, money, getting your life and your mind right. I'm excited to have you here. I am your host, Lawron Ballard. I'm a CPA, been in the business for over 15 years, and I'm sharing everything that I'm learning about, that I have learned and in the process of learning real time with my clients, talking about taxes, savings, all the things. And so I always like to start the show with some news updates because this is so important for you to stay current with what is going on in the marketplace. So very first thing, this is brand new, that there was a mid-year increase in the standard mileage deduction. So it's gone up to like 70 something cents. It has gone up significantly over the past couple of years, particularly since I've been in business. I remember when it was sub 50 cents and now we're at 70 something cents. Obviously, the war in Iran and the increase in gas prices, inflation that doesn't exist, but it clearly exists. All of this is impacting that. And so there is a increase in that. And so if you are a business owner, sole proprietor, please, please, please make sure you are tracking your mileage because this is going to have even more significant in 2027. The next thing that I want to comment on is AI tax preparation. So AI is everywhere, it's pervasive. It is not to the point where it is doing everything in terms of accounting at this point in time. And it'll be a while before that happens because there's something called professional judgment. But people are rolling out AI tax prep solutions, and the IRS warns that you've got to be careful about that because, in their words, AI hallucinates. And so ultimately, you are responsible for what you put on your tax return. And so you want to be mindful that if you're working with a preparer or if you're preparing and using these tools on your own, that you're reviewing the work, making sure that things are being done correctly. There is, I love to talk about the scams. I love to talk about the stuff that's going on. There is a scam currently happening where scammers are sending out CP53Es. That's just a letter code for we need more information in order to send your refund. And scammers have gotten creative. They're sending these letters to taxpayers so that they can fish your account information. And so please, if you get a letter in the mail, make sure that it is legitimately from the IRS. Hold times are very long, but if you're unsure, always call or send a picture to your tax professional. You can also send a picture to me if you really want to. I will, have no charge to you, take a look and see if we can assist you with that. But it should never be directing you anywhere other than the IRS website. And the number should only be directing you to a clearly identified IRS number, and you can find that information online. So I mentioned last week that I am moving my practice in a different direction. And the reason for that is because I am noticing in the marketplace that the solutions people are giving when it comes to tax planning, when it comes to tax strategy, is that you get savings and then go on your merry way. But let me tell you, I'm not going to say no. I'm going to say there's minimal value in that taking place. What really should be happening is that tax professionals who are helping you with tax savings should be using that information to make your financial life and health better. And so what I am working on currently for clients, and I'm literally working on this with clients in real time right now. And if you're on live or if you watch the replay on YouTube or LinkedIn, I'm gonna open a window for I don't know, the next week, 2 weeks. And if you want to go through a completely free, very serious, completely free financial health assessment, I'm offering that to just a couple of people. I have 5 slots. There is no charge to that. You can, you got to figure out how to contact me though. So if you are watching on YouTube, then you'll see that you can get in contact with me at questions@hilltownadvisors.com. If you are here on TikTok and you are watching live and you see this, I am giving away, but you got to DM me, got to send me a message. I'm only going to keep this open for like a week, max 2 weeks. And I believe, and so I'm doing this on the spot. I'm doing this on the spot. Like, this is a spontaneous thing, but I just know that there is so much value in what we're creating and how it's going to help you make better financial decisions. Let me read some statistics and tell you why what we're doing is so important and so groundbreaking. So, number one, most people think that they're going to retire at 66, and they have financial planners working with them to retire at 66. But guess what? The majority of the time, people leave early. They leave the workforce early, about 4 years early. That's 4 years of additional earning that they are missing out on, and they are leaving because of illness, because of a death in the family. They're leaving for all types of reasons. And this, they call this involuntarily being removed from the workforce. Now, if you have planned, if you have worked with, you've put money into your 401k, you work with a wealth advisor, and you've only planned to retire at 66, but you leave 4 years early, and let's say you make $100,000. That could easily be $100,000 that you've lost, assuming that you put $25,000 in annually. You've lost an additional $100,000 in retirement, which is significant. That is about $300 to $400 a month in terms of usable retirement income. So this is a huge issue. Statistic number 2, for pre-retirees, the average 401k balance is over $537,000, but the median balance is just $185,000. There may be somebody on this live right now who makes $185,000. And let's say that you retire at 66. What is $185,000 going to do for you? And you live another 20 years. That's how you end up on a fixed income. That's how you end up in a scenario where people now have to put up a GoFundMe to bury you because you do not have adequate coverage and income in retirement. And this is the stuff that is significant. And this is why we're working with clients the way that we're working with them. Did you know that 65%, if there's 5 people watching this live, 3 of you are not sure or are completely off track with your savings plan for retirement. That is significant. But guess what? I can come on social media and it looks like everybody's doing well. Everybody's getting money. The economy is up. We got stuff going on here, but that's not the case. The facts are showing that 65% of you don't even know if you are on track for retirement. That is a problem, and we're trying to solve that. So let me explain to you why I believe taxes are the perfect entry point to address some of these things. Taxes impact every aspect of your life. If you are in the United States, you pay taxes when you die, you pay taxes to buy a house, you pay taxes to sell a house, you pay taxes to when you make income, you pay taxes when you sell property, you pay taxes all the time. But the vast majority of people treat taxes like a conversation that we have in a back corner because we have to. But this is the key. This is the piece that people are missing. Taxes are actually the entry point to major financial conversations. Because let me walk you through what this looks like. When I have a conversation with a client to help them prepare their taxes, I find out if they're married, I find out if they're single, I find out if they have children, I find out if they have a home, I find out what they have in terms of retirement, I find out if they have anything in savings, I find out if they have a job, I find out if they have a big trust. I'm finding out all of this just because I'm preparing your tax return. And while it is a nuisance to you to pull together these documents and come to my office, come to have a conversation with me about your tax return, let me tell you what I can discover when I am going through your tax return. I get statements from you, so I likely know how much you have in retirement. And given your age, I can pretty easily tell whether or not you are or are not on track. If you have children, but you don't have any type of succession plan for a business or any trust that I know about, you may have an exposure gap. Let's say you are married and your spouse is the breadwinner. They make most of the money and you don't work or you don't make nearly as much of them. And your lifestyle is created around the both of you earning that income. What happens if your spouse can no longer work? Do you have coverage? All of these things come up when we start having conversations just to prepare your tax return. And this is what this is where I get really excited. This is where I get really jazzed up, because if I can help you save money on taxes and leverage the information that I already have about you, because you gave it to me voluntarily. This was not me sneaking and geeking. You gave this information to me voluntarily to prepare your tax returns. And I say to you, hey, client, I can save you $10,000 in taxes. I can save you $20,000 in taxes. But guess what? I found 5 areas of risk in your financial plan that are easily going to cost you $20,000 each. But you can close those holes for $3,000 to $5,000. Wouldn't that be valuable information to you? Wouldn't you want to have that information to know what is the next thing for you to do? This is the gap in terms of how tax strategy and tax advisory is happening now in the marketplace. Everybody wants to throw a tactic at you. Everybody wants to throw a strategy at you. But guess what? The strategies and the tactics don't mean anything if they don't translate into anything. And if somebody's watching this live, somebody's watching this program right now and they're saying, well, a lot of times you're talking about clients who are making 200, 400, 500, 600, $1 million in income a year. I only make 20,000. What does this have to do with me? It's got everything to do with you. Because the vast majority of low income taxpayers are getting some type of refund. And what are they spending that money on? They may be spending it to catch up on bills. They may be spending it to go to the mall, go out to eat, go on vacation. They could be spending it on whatever they decide. But what if I told you for $500, I could help you set up a trust? You got small children and I can help you set up a trust to start putting things in place and protecting your kids. That My desire in the world is to help you, make better financial decisions. Like, I want you to be prepared. I want you to be financially independent. I believe a time is coming when you are not just going to be able to get up and get on TikTok or go in your car and make money doing Uber Eats. I believe that there's going to be a time where making money is going to be harder. And you've got to be very intentional and be very strategic about the decisions that you make now in order to position you for the future. So this is not about like trying to be scary or trying to have any doom and gloom or anything like that. I am simply saying that the way tax strategy is done today, it is focused on today, and that is short-sighted. If you are paying somebody to help you do tax planning and tax strategy, they should also be helping you to understand the next decision that you need to make after you save those taxes. Let's go to another statistic. I want to look at this because I think that this stuff is important. Another statistic. Did you know that 37% of Americans cannot even cover a $400 emergency? 37% of Americans cannot even cover a $40 a $400 emergency. And so when I said that what I'm talking about and what we're creating here is not just for the affluent or the ultra high net worth, this is for you if you are making minimum wage, because we can start working at making sure you can handle a $400 unexpected cost in cash. Like, we should be able to do that. The other piece of this is that 42%, and this is crazy because if you ask most financial gurus, they want you to have between 3 and 6 months of emergency expenses covered. 42% of Americans do not have that. That's almost 1 in 2 cannot live without making money for 90 days. Almost half. A job. Families are going bankrupt because they can't work. This is the reason why, again, I'm saying that tax planning is the perfect spot to start thinking about these things. And so let's get into a little bit of teaching, because I know I've been like driving this home and trying to it really just give you my passion, give you the reason why I'm so amped up about this. But let me just give you a little bit of teaching. Here is what you can do. If you see yourself in any of these statistics that you are not sure about whether or not you're on track with retirement, or you know that you're not on track with retirement, if you know that you cannot cover a $400 unexpected expense, if you know that you do not have, you are significantly underfunded in terms of your retirement plan, this is what I want you to do. We have 6 months left in the year. The first thing that I want you to do is find a very easy way to start generating a little extra cash, whether it's starting a side business, whether that is becoming a content creator and making a little cash that way, whether it's flipping furniture. I don't care what you do. If you got to pick up a second job, if you got to work Uber Eats, whatever you got to do, make a little cash, make a little extra cash. And I want you to start addressing that $400 issue. Put that away. I love what Dave Ramsey says. He says, have at least $1,000 emergency fund, at least $1,000 emergency fund. The second step that I want you to take is I want you to in terms of your finances. Do you want to retire at 65? Do you want to take 3 years off and travel the world? Do you want to move out of the country? Do you want to buy a house? If you do not have, I love this quote, success in any line requires a definite aim. If you don't have an objective, you're stuck. So first step, we're going to just make a little extra income. Make sure that we've cleared that $400 issue. Second of all, I want you to be very clear about where are you going from a financial perspective. And number three, I want you to start thinking about how much cash would you need to have in order for that dream to become a reality? How much cash would you need? That can be a mix of, I've got investments that are paying me dividends. I've got a business that runs without me, like whatever that is. I want you to start thinking about that. And if you can identify your freedom number, that's what I call your freedom number. Number two, if you can start getting clear on where you're trying to go, and if you can start just putting a little something extra in savings, I promise you that the stress of your finances will be completely turned around. This is the power of what we're talking about. Like, and then once we have this, like once we layer this all on, by the time we get to next tax season and you are filing a tax return and you are getting a refund, we start putting more money aside to address the gaps that we identified, to start saving towards that freedom number. And now the decisions that you make become very, very intentional. What is missing in this day and age is intentionality about the things that we do. And so I want to encourage you to not allow your finances to just kind of float by, but make sure that you are being intentional. So I've ran my mouth for 20 something minutes on this topic. I want to get into a case study because I always got to do a case study talking about what we can do in terms of tax planning. And I made sure that this case study was more in line with where people are, because I know I've had some heavy hitters, but this case study is lighter. So this client made $273,000 in the year. They had a tax bill of $65,000. They probably were making estimated payments, had W-2. They had a W-2. They are, this client is in construction. And so they were getting good money between their day job and overtime. So they made $273,000. They've gotten taxes withheld, $65,000 in taxes withheld with just two strategies. Remember, I said that tax planning is only it doesn't have to be anything complex. Two strategies can make a world of a difference. This client used two strategies. They opened a property management company that they were managing properties for other people because this client doesn't have any real estate of their own. But they generated some losses there. And they did charitable financing, which is they donated to charity. And based on the income, based on the donation, they were able to multiply it because it was a loan. So those two strategies, again, only two strategies, those two strategies netted $220,000 in additional deductions for this client. And so before the tax plan, their taxable income was $273,000. After the two strategies, their taxable income went to $52,000. Their tax bill went from $65,000 to $6,000 with two strategies. And that now generated almost $60,000, $58,785 in cash tax savings for this client. And because they're W-2, they're getting a refund of almost 60 grand. That is what people make in a year. But what could you do with that 60,000? And that's why this is so important, because we now take this 60,000. This person is single. They could put that into retirement. If they said, I actually, I started the property management so I could learn the business, but I actually want to get a rental property, 60,000 is probably enough for a down payment, depending on the cost of a property. And so again, we start thinking about tax savings as an opportunity to springboard into the next place. So I want to, before we end the show today, I want to see if there's any questions from the audience on what we can do, on what is possible when we talk about tax planning. We have any questions? All right. Well, if there are no questions today, I am going to end the show. I want to say thank you so much for all the love and support. I want to do more of these lives on TikTok to really, I appreciate it. I want to do more of these lives on TikTok and just keep sharing this information, because I know that this is going to be very, very valuable, and just trying to make a change. Just trying to make a change in the way things are done in terms of finances. So if you don't have any questions, I appreciate you for joining, and we will be back next week, Wednesday at 2:15 Eastern time to talk more about this stuff. And sure, going once, going twice for the questions. If there's no additional questions, again, I want to just thank you so much for joining. Until next time, God bless.